welcome to another episode of VKS's Paperless Conversation, hosted by yours truly, Kalina Spooner. For those of you that are new to our podcast, every month we like to explore different topics surrounding the manufacturing industry, as well as educating and learning some of the new trends. So in today's episode, we will be discussing some of the latest and greatest trends that are shaping the manufacturing industry since the start of 2021. So it will just be me today, so everyone bear with me. I'll hopefully get you guys engaged, learning some of the new trends. And so let's get started. Number one, from what my research has suggested, is employee health and safety remains very, very imperative. From the factory floor to the boardrooms, employees' health and safety becomes the center of almost every conversation since 2020. And that trend has not expected to change anytime soon. In fact, it will continue to accelerate as global regulations continue to evolve and manufacturers work to build safer environments for all of their employees. Businesses will lean on smart equipment as well as real-time communication technologies to ensure employees are safe and that they're as safe as possible. So to give you a quick example, within our own sister company, which is CMP, VKS has been at the forefront of the health and safety of their employees. So what we've done with VKS is they were able to build out a questionnaire with our smart form feature that every employee, as well as every visitor that comes into the facility, has to fill out in order to keep everyone safe and healthy. So at any given point, people can always turn back to the reporting section and see, for example, if one of their employees was sick, when were they sick and when was it recorded? And then you can figure out who within that team should be notified of the fact that they're either their coworker was sick or whatnot, as well as informing HR and even the government if need be. So that's just something that I just wanted to quickly add about how, yes, we're talking about the health and safety and just how VKS can not only be used for work instructions, but also being able to kind of keep track of everyone's health and safety as we kind of continue to move towards normalcy now that the pandemic is slowly but surely kind of leaning away from being at the forefront right now. All right, number two, manufacturing technologies are starting to get smarter. What I mean by that is AI, robotics, 3D printing, all of the latest manufacturing trends in manufacturing technology have been for some time, as we all know. In 2021, this is going to be the year that manufacturing technology gets even smarter. So what do I mean by that? Robots currently on the factory floor are growing at a warp speed thanks to their declining costs and increasing capabilities. According to the International Federation of Robotics, there are a record 2.7 million industrial robots operating in factories worldwide. So also spending on digital twin technology is also expected to grow by 17% in 2021. So with digital twins, manufacturers can digitally replicate new products before the production process even begins, which will ultimately decrease overhead costs, waste, and quality issues. All right, number three, digital connectivity to all of the things. So what I mean by that, as we saw in 2020, the manufacturing and food processing industries were severely impacted by the global pandemic. From closed facilities to rigid communication channels, it was difficult for some to remain flexible and even open. So as a result, 94% of Fortune 1000 companies experienced disruption within their supply chain. Now, when we enter 2021, like I mentioned, digital connectivity will be one of the dominating trends in manufacturing as well as in the food processing industries. Businesses will begin to heavily rely on the Internet of Things to digitalize and connect as many aspects of the production process as possible to stay ahead for further disruptions. So they will do so by adopting tools that can connect operations, inventory, employees, equipment, as well as even their customers. So like I mentioned, the Internet of Things is rapidly growing, and it's estimated that by 2025, over 75 billion manufacturing devices will be connected and being able to communicate with one another. So that is huge. So again, I'm just going to throw in a little bit of a tidbit about VKS. We've recently launched, it's been a couple years now, but it's constantly growing, is something that we like to call Tool Connect. So with Tool Connect, we are now able to connect with certain smart tools, so certain IoT tools. So we're able to capture the readings that are coming from the tools or the machines, and we're able to connect them with VKS. So what we're doing is we're automating the facility so that the operator is fully engaged with the tool as well as the software. So what I mean by that, for example, this is a pen. Let's pretend it's a torque wrench. What you're able to do is in VKS, you can pre-program in VKS what the angles of the torque should be. What are the parameters? Let's just say it should be between 45 to 55 degrees. So when the operator gets to his assembly line, he enters in, he starts to work, he picks up that torque wrench and he goes to screw in the screw. If it doesn't get if the reading, for example, reads that it's at 60 degrees, VKS will notify that operator and tell them, hey, that's not the appropriate angle based on what was predefined by your engineering team, your quality team. And like I mentioned, an alert will pop up and notify that operator that he needs to take the screw out, redo it so that it fits the parameters that you have predefined as the employee, as your employer, and then they're able to move to the next step. So that's something that we're starting to kind of continue to grow with as well, right? The Internet of Things is rapidly growing everywhere. So VKS is also adapting on ways that we can also connect with the Internet of Things. So that's just a little tidbit that I wanted to share with everyone. Now, let's move to number 4, going green in manufacturing. So what does that mean? Today, the manufacturing industry represents 54% of the world's energy consumption and 20% of global emissions. So it's no surprise that there is a growing need for the manufacturing and food processing companies to slowly start to move green if they haven't yet already done so. So as a result of that, circular manufacturing is catching on quick, given its benefits. And some of the benefits are recovering and repurposing materials and resources, switching to renewable energy to power factories, tracking every step in the manufacturing process to lessen waste. And within the subsectors, so for example, building material manufacturers, they're also seeing a much more significant push towards sustainability. Now, let's go back to VKS quickly. VKS, as we all know, has been a huge and such a large factor in helping manufacturers go green by digitalizing paperwork-based instructions. So whenever there are changes or modifications that need to be made to these paperwork instructions, SOPs, maintenance procedures, you name it, by having a digital platform to make these changes, companies no longer need to print out and reprint the instructions and put them in the binders, get the old binders, recycle the other paper. Instead, what you can simply do by the touch of a button, you can make the necessary changes and store everything digitally. So that's kind of one way that VKS is really helping manufacturers go green. All right, now number 5, centralized communication. As we saw during the pandemic, workforces went into different directions. Many administrative teams worked remotely. Many frontline workers came into work but had to maintain social distance from colleagues. In-person meetings? What's that? We haven't had one in about, 2 years now. But hopefully, again, all of that can slowly start to change. So it comes to no surprise that 60% of companies are motivated to adopt digital tools to centralize communication. In order to increase or simply maintain productivity, companies need to find a new way to connect with everyone, especially in the food processing and manufacturing industries and their time-sensitive operations. So mobile productivity tools will create a centralized data and communication hub so companies can connect easily and safely with everyone wherever they are. All right, let's move to number 6. A more resilient supply chain network. In 2020, many manufacturers had to halt operations simply because they were not able to procure the materials they needed to operate. Worldwide, the supply chains were overburdened and broken, leaving companies without materials to operate. As production picks up steam, companies are focused on building more resilient supply chains to avoid similar crisis scenarios that are going to possibly happen in the future. So they will need to do this in several different ways. Some of these ways are, 1, to expand their supply list, move from a single sourcing to multi-sourcing. Number 2 will be to digitally monitor supply chains with AI that can alert companies of potential disruptions. Number 3 would be to find suppliers closer to home or near-shoring supply chains. And number 4 would be to use additive manufacturing. So that could be 3D printing to manufacture supplies within house. So like other areas of manufacturing, having access to emerging technologies and digital networks will strengthen the supply chain. Now, again, if we just pause for a second and if we look at VKS really quickly, what we have just launched is called our digital ecosystem. And what this will do, it will allow companies to share interactive work instructions with their suppliers as well as their business partners. So by leveraging VKS's approval flow feature, it will ensure that suppliers' work instructions, their control plans, and processes to meet the company's needs. Also, it will improve communication and provide instant feedback within your supply chain, seamlessly addressing issues and being able to share knowledge in real time, from non-conformance pictures to continuous improvement ideas. So also rest assured that the suppliers are capturing data at a specific step during the process by using our smart forms to create digital checklists. So what this will help do, it will help decrease paperwork and gain real-time visibility of your shop floor within live job tracking. So that's another little tidbit about what VKS can kind of do within that manufacturing trend. All right, let's go to lean operation management for business agility. That's a long sentence, so bear with me. So as 2020 gets underway, we're already halfway through the year, there's going to be a bigger push for lean manufacturing industry. So on top of the sustainability reasons, streamlining workflows, reducing waste, and improving processes leads to a much more financially stable operation. Manufacturers who adopt lean methodology see a huge reduction in operating expenditures. With a well-connected workforce, no extra inventory, and less waste all around, a company becomes much more agile and able to provide a new business model when faced with a crisis like, for example, the 2020 pandemic. It's going to be a top priority as many companies recover and they're trying to find, their footing in this, what we call this new normal. All right, let's go to step number 8. 3D printing will have its day. What I mean by that, additive manufacturing, or 3D printing as it's known in the consumer world, has been around for a while. But the technology has come down a lot much more in price, making it a lot easier and cheaper than ever for companies to create molds, prototypes, and even manufacture final parts in-house. So the ability to take a 2-dimensional image and within hours have a 3-dimensional mold that will allow companies to troubleshoot, resolve issues on a much smaller scale before investing in a full-size production. So this is a pretty cool thing that one of the manufacturing trends is kind of happening. All right, let's go to step number 9. 5G growth will resume in the manufacturing industry. So this topic I know is a little bit controversial. 5G, is it good, is it not? So I'm just gonna kind of lay out all the facts based on the research I did. So as we know, 2020 and even the beginning and even now, 2021 has been about surviving, right? As the world emerges from the grips of the COVID-19 pandemic, we can really start to refocus on strategy, recovery, as well as growth. So after a stop and start year, companies will once again resume interest in the 5G cellular technology for the main purpose to increase the speed of their operations. In fact, 56% of manufacturing companies plan to test 5G sometime this year in 2021. So the future of manufacturing will rely, like I mentioned, heavily on high-speed connectivity to power their Industry 4.0 operations. So what are some of the things that 5G technology can facilitate faster? Number 1 would be AI integration. Number 2, real-time communication for a large dispersed workforce. 3, data sharing. And 4 is IoT connectivity. So like I mentioned, right now in 2021, 5G will finally gain a foothold in manufacturing as well as the food processing industry. As the post-pandemic workforce remains much more dispersed than ever, 5G will enable real-time connectivity for an entire organization. The speed and efficiency of information moving throughout a factory, will deliver a greater productivity and create a much safer work environment for everyone. All right, let's go to step number 10. The frontline employee tech remains a must-have. So again, in 2021, manufacturing and food processing companies will digitally enable frontline employees for two reasons. The first is that manufacturers need to establish a digitally connected network between the employees and Industry 4.0 technologies. In factories of the future, employees will be needing and requiring a means to communicate digitally with one another and the machines that they're managing and operating. Also, employee technology is a critical tool in this digital transformation process. 90% of manufacturing executives recognize the importance of employee tech, but only 36% believe they're meeting these obligations. So what does this mean? That digital transformation in the manufacturing space is not slowing down, but it's only accelerating, and it's only going to skyrocket from here. So now is the time for manufacturing and food processing companies to kind of shift away from traditional communication methods and enable their staff with a mobile-friendly tool. So what are kind of some of the ways that we can kind of start to, what's the 4-step process for a digital transformation? Number 1 would be to reach and connect. So what does this mean? We need to provide better communication to improve the operation and as well as maintain employee health and safety. When workers can effectively communicate information in real time to keep the pace with the new speed of manufacturing, it will save time and money. Number 2, digitalize. VKS, hint, hint. So creating digital versions of essential materials that are easily accessible no matter where you are is good for business. So digitalizing your SOPs, shift schedules, training documentation, maintenance procedures, work instructions will keep employees safe, informed, and engaged. Number 3, automate. So streamlining redundant processes nets productivity wins. For example, if your HR team is getting repetitive questions, using chat box will help them get faster. We'll get them back to their day-to-day and get them the information to the employees a lot quicker. All right, number 4 is to optimize. Using integrated workflows will increase efficiency. So data silos are broken down and there is a united flow of information between systems, machines, as well as humans. All right, so the next wave of digital transformation is here. Now is the time to capitalize on these manufacturing trends and to start to adopt them to support your frontline employees through this next technological evolution. So, as I mentioned kind of throughout the presentation and throughout the discussion that we've had, VKS can play a major role in helping bring forth this wave of digital transformation. From helping companies go green to reducing the amount of paper used in the factories and the shop floor, to centralizing communication and automating so much of the shop floor activities through our API, as well as helping with maintenance, our digital ecosystem. VKS is here to stay and help companies into the digital era of 2021. So that's all I have to say for today. Thank you for bearing with me. I know it was me solo, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you would like to learn anything more about VKS, how we can help in any of these aspects of the manufacturing trends, please feel free to visit our website at www.vksapp.com, or you can click on the link at the end of the podcast. So again, everyone, that's it for today's topic on the manufacturing trends. I wish everyone a very safe and happy summer. See you next time.